Welcome to Ghostcasters Podcast. I'm CG Mosley. I'm joined as always by my longtime friend and co-host, Adam Boyette. Adam is once again, I don't know, maybe we're going to start doing this more often, but Adam has once again joined me in studio tonight in the hub city.
Yep.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi, home of the Southern
University of Southern Mississippi. Yeah.
I was going to say the Southern Golden Eagles. I'm assuming that's why you're down here today?
I am. Actually, no. I've told you that my vehicle, my son had a wreck earlier this year, and he's been using my vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, the backup vehicle I've been using has all of a sudden gone out on me. The guy called it today, and he's like, "Do you think anything would have ate your wires?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a rat in there," because I said I found like a rat nest in there. I was like, "Okay, well, I just wondered."
What year is that Explorer?
2006, and then
Damn, I thought it was older than that.
no, it hasn't been driven very much in the last, since probably the last 5 years or so since we've gotten some other cars, and it just sits there. And the bad thing about it, if a car just sits, it doesn't do it any good. So
No,
that's the problem with it. And I don't know. He was changing 2 or 3 sensors on it, changed the fuel filter on it, and he said it still may be the transmission. So if it's the transmission, I don't even know if I'm going to fix it.
Wow.
But anyway, so I'm here to get a vehicle so I can drive back.
well, that sucks that you're dealing with. So your wife, she straight up left you here.
She does.
She's headed
It's
back.
what she does every time. No, she's actually going to meet with the kids and eat dinner with them.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I thought she's just dropping you off and heading back.
No.
Okay.
She had to come pick me up the other day and take me to Philadelphia, which is how far from Meridian? 40.
That's a good little drive. I bet
So
she was pissed.
Yeah, she had to come pick me up
Yeah.
and then wait for me in Philadelphia to call games.
And then she felt like it was your fault.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what they do. All right, so that's what's going on in Adam's personal life right now. We'll jump into ghost news like we always do, and my story, I'll go first. And, this story, it's kind of sensitive in nature. I've never heard of this guy, but if you're across the pond over there in the United Kingdom, you probably have heard of him. Have you heard of this guy?
I had never heard of him before, but he was like, what was he on? What was the name of the show? I can't remember, but he was like a Simon Cowell type.
Yeah, Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
I think is the show you're referring to. This guy's name is Jimmy Savile. I think that's how you say his name. Apparently, this guy, he was a celebrity, of course. I think he made his name as a DJ. And as you said, he later became more known in the media on television shows and things like that. Apparently, he is garbage because of some of the things that he did over the course of his life. And he is dead now. And that's kind of why we're talking about him. There's a lady in this article that I'm reading. It's on the Daily Star, and the title is "I'm Being Stalked by Jimmy Savile's Ghost. He calls me the one that got away," which is kind of creepy. So
Really weird.
it goes on to say a distressed mother believes she is being stalked in her dreams by the ghost of serial predator Jimmy Savile. Lizzie Groves is her name. She was a youngster when she met him on the Top of the Pop show that you just talked about. And she said everywhere she goes, he leaves a trail of cigar smoke. She said it's kind of like he's marking his territory. She said she's been plagued by repeated nightmares where she's pursued by this pedophile monster who calls her the one that got away. She said, I'm very sane. I'm a sane, logical woman, and I'd have put all this down to a run of bad dreams except for that cigar smoke because he was known to smoke cigars. Now, she was a former barmaid. She said, quote, "All of October, I have had horrible nightmares where Savile is chasing me down a BBC corridor, and even one where he's chasing me around in my bedroom. I wake up from them shaking. What makes it even scarier is that I could still smell his cigar smoke every time. I thought I was going mad, so I went and got my daughter and asked, 'Can you smell something in my bedroom?' And she said, 'Yes, cigar smoke.' And neither of them smoke. Apparently no one in the house smokes. She said again, it was like the spirit was marking its territory. What does that sound like to you? No, it's like in movies. What does that sound like to you? Freddy Krueger is what it sounds like to me.
Somebody what you're putting down.
Somebody haunting her, stalking her in her dreams.
Yeah.
But
that part.
But
yes.
the line between the dream world and the reality world, there's a area there where it's sort of blending because she's smelling cigar smoke when she wakes up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It made me think of Freddy Krueger. But anyway, what do you think about it?
Well, I think those people experience trauma. And actually, today at school, we had a gentleman come and talk to us, and he talked about the fact that he had been molested for a long part by a school person and a counselor, I think, at the school that he attended. And I think those people experience that trauma, and I think people handle it different ways. Like he goes on to tell a story. It's really interesting. If anybody wants to know, reach out to the story, and I'll tell you the name of the man. He does this and for schools and stuff like that, and it's a real interesting story. But I think people handle it different ways. Like he turned to drugs and alcohol eventually.
Was he talking to the faculty or
yes, the faculty? He did talk to the students too. He did talk to the students too, the high school students. Like he's really like it's a big thing we're trying. If people don't know, there is a vaping epidemic in America, in American schools today. It's become like it's the in thing for kids to do and stuff like that. Back when we were kids, we used to laugh at kids that were smoking in the bathroom and stuff like that. And, I was like, I'm not smoking. And
we would set the bathroom on fire.
Yeah, right. But not smoking. Yeah. Set it on fire.
But I'm just saying, we did contribute some smoke in the bathroom.
But anyway, I know you do smoke cigars sometimes.
Occasionally, like one or two a month.
And I don't do that very much.
My wife vapes.
Does she?
She does.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she does. And I keep telling her all the time, you need to quit doing that crap. I actually made a deal with her. I said, hey, you put the vaping down, I will never smoke another cigar.
Really?
I did. I told her that. And she ain't done it yet.
Okay.
So maybe we need to send this guy to talk to her.
Maybe so. But it was just a real interesting story. And that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to get kids not to vape. Like, he had like 4 or 5 kids turn in their vapes to him today during their presentation.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what he was talking to them about, like how he says that everybody starts at their age, but that's really getting off.
What does that have to do with this pedophile monster?
But it had to do with he dealt with it there by turning to drugs and alcohol. Maybe this person's dealing with the trauma by saying, I still feel the atrocities of what happened. And I'm turning to the supernatural to explain it.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe so. It's still a horrible thing that happened to her. And this guy, I mean, look, I hate to speak horribly about anyone, but if anybody deserves to have ugly things said about him, it's a person like this, a pedophile. He is dead, thankfully. He died at age 84. He managed to conceal what he was doing for many, many years during his lifetime. I think I read he was even knighted at one point, which is awful. But anyway, what do you have tonight? Hopefully it's something a little more lighthearted than this story. A
little more lighthearted, but not too much, because it does deal with Nazis and prisoner wars camp and everything like that. So I have the story tonight of a doll, and the name of the doll is Mr. Fritz.
Mr. Fritz.
Mr. Fritz, okay? He's a creepy doll from World War II, and he is in a case. And in the case there, it is said the case is randomly open. They're seeing him move. Now, let me give you a little bit of backstory of Mr. Fritz from what we have here. Mr. Fritz was made by American prisoner of war in World War II. He did this at, let me see if I'm trying to find the part here that said about the part there, but he had been made and it's been passed through different people through England there. It was made at Stalag 2.B, which was a German World War II camp. It's in the town of Karsnay.
The guy made it while he was in the camp?
Yeah, the American prisoner crafted the doll. So that in and out of itself is a little bit of weird stuff there, just from that standpoint there, that it was made at a prisoner of war camp. But anyway, so the people that owned it, they were named, I got to get back up on the article here. They had the doll there, and they had it in a case. And in the case there, the doll's glass display cabinet would mysteriously swing open at night. To investigate, the man who owns its name, and this is a little different name too. His name is Mr. Diamond.
So we got Mr. Diamond and Mr. Fritz.
Yes, Michael Diamond bought Mr. Fritz from a doll from the Second World War, known strange things. Now he didn't buy it in the Second World War. He bought it from somebody when it was made there.
I got it.
All right. So anyway, he had it in the house, and he said he's opened it. He set up the GoPro. I looked through the thing to see if there was a video. I could not see it. But he says once he reviewed the footage, he saw the cabinet door opening and the doll's mouth and eyes moving. Now, it shows a picture of him having locks and chains over it. And I thought it was funny. One of the things it said in the article there, it says maybe burn it instead of locking it up, which, that's one of the things we constantly say is why don't people do different things with these dolls and things like that? Because this is something
I'm sure he purchased the doll for its paranormal nature. Yeah. I don't think he probably doesn't want to destroy it, but.
Well, Mr. Diamond said that when he watched the video back, he had a weird feeling in his stomach. He says, I wasn't completely surprised because that's been happening with the door. At least once or twice a week, I noticed the door kept coming off its latch. I decided to set up the camera for fun just to see if anything would happen. When something actually did happen, I got a weird feeling in my gut. It's hard to describe. I was really taken back by it. I did have a strange feeling. I wouldn't say I'm scared of Mr. Fritz, but he says I am wary of it. And it goes on to say that he's got it locked up there. Mr. Diamond is an entertainer who travels the country performing stunts, and he has a museum full of collector's items, which that's one of the things Mr. Fritz is there. He said he bought it from a local I don't know what that word is. It's supposed to be militia, a military. I don't know what that word is. It's one of these English articles because all the creepy stuff happens over in England for some reason. I don't know why we constantly get
a lot of history there.
Daily Star articles, Mirror articles, and whatever. But he keeps the doll in his freak room where he keeps all his collectibles.
In his what room?
Freak room.
Freak room.
Freak room.
Okay,
that's exactly what it says. All right.
Not what I envision when I hear someone talk about a freak room.
So he said that he believes that Mr. Diamond believes that the prisoner that did the doll was a ventriloquist before his capture. He said he's convinced the doll is haunted and he has it locked up and it's draped with a blanket as well. So Mr. Fritz, like I said, very obviously there's some other articles and stuff I was looking at about it. So basically, Mr. Diamond got Mr. Fritz. It's in his freak room now. So when he goes around, I guess in
Mr.
England,
Fritz doesn't want to be in the case.
No, he doesn't. Obviously, he wants to be out.
That's why he's opening the door. He needs some fresh air.
That's right. He wants to talk. He probably says, I wonder if it had video on it, did it say, I can't breathe in here?
Yeah. It reminds me of the one you covered a couple of weeks ago, the doll that would cuss everybody's asses out.
Yeah.
They ought to put those two together.
Yeah.
But all right, is that all you got on Mr. Fritz?
Yeah, that's
there?
it. And I don't have a terrified tidbit this week. With Thanksgiving being last week and everything, I hadn't had a chance to get anything together, so I don't have one this week. But we'll start back in December, and we'll start looking at some Christmas themed goes.
So what you're trying to say is you failed us.
I did fail y'all this week, yes.
Well, thank you for that. So no terrifying tidbit this week. I guess we'll get right into our case for this week. We're going to talk about a place called Tulloch Castle. We've talked about a few castles on this show. Look, there are actually lots and lots and lots of haunted castles, and I purposely try to avoid talking about them because there's just so damn many of them. We could really talk about a haunted castle just about every week. That said, the next episode we do is probably going to be another haunted castle. I don't know. Maybe we'll go on a run of haunted castles here, but this one is Tulloch Castle. There's not a lot for me to tell you about it because there's so much history. And Adam, I guess you're going to get into that now. Tell us about the history of Tulloch Castle.
So we've talked about before. CG does most of the writing on the different things here, and his first sentence in his document this week is Tulloch Castle is old.
It is old. I mean, how long has it been there?
It's been there since as far as back as 1116. So
Just call it
1000
1116.
1116. Okay, so I was trying to think of what the number to call it is there, but it says a keep was there back then. So you know, we're not getting into all the different things about castles and all the different classifications and different parts of it there, but there was some type of stronghold.
There's been some sort of settlement there.
Yeah.
For many, many, many years.
So not only was a keep there, the site possibly once served as a Viking stronghold stronghold as well. There's a nearby town called Dingwall, which I see you are from the wall, not Dingwall, but you are from the wall.
Stonewall.
So the nearby town of Dingwall recently uncovered the remains of a Viking parliament buried under a parking lot. So the structure itself likely dates back to at least the late 14th century. In the mid-16th century, Duncan Bain was granted a charter of lands in 1542. The lands of Tulloch were erected in a free barony by King Charles II in favor of Sir Donald Bain of Tulloch in 1678. In the 18th century, however, the ownership of the castle changed hand. Kenneth Bain, 8th Laird and 5th Baron of Tulloch, sold the estate to his cousin, Henry Davison, in 1762. This was done by the Crown Charter of George III in favor of Henry Davison, the 6th Baron of Tulloch, and this was dated in February 23rd of 1763.
And by the way, we didn't talk about this, but Tulloch Castle is located in Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but just trying to give everybody an idea of where we're not talking about over in Stonewall, Mississippi.
No.
Okay.
Dingwall was the name of the town there. He grew up CG grew up in a town called Stonewall, Mississippi. And as a joke, as children, we would always say that's the wall because we talked about it.
We call it the wall because it made, if I go up and say, hey, I'm from Stonewall.
Yeah.
You don't think a whole lot. But if I walk up to you and I say, hey, I'm from the wall, and you think, okay, this is a badass.
Or E-Prize. That's another one we used to say a bunch of.
Yeah.
That's where we went to school.
That's not
Enterprise.
near as cool as the wall.
But they call it E-Prize now. A lot of those kids call it E-Prize. Like we're in E-Prize and stuff like that instead of Enterprise. So anyway, kids do stupid things and call things stupid things. But anyway, so it wasn't in Stonewall, Mississippi. Tulloch Castle's not there. There's only one castle in this part of Mississippi that I've found so far.
Yes, me too.
So anyway, after Henry's death in 1781, Tulloch was inherited by the younger brother Henry Davison, Duncan Davison, who was from Carmarthenshire, and he lived there from 1790 to 1796. He was in turn succeeded by his son Henry, his grandson Duncan, and his great-grandson Duncan Henry Cassius Ray Davison.
They just threw all those damn names together.
So eventually they all got there, but... so that man, Duncan Henry Cassius Ray Davison, he was the father of the last Davison of Tulloch, Duncan, who lived there from 1865 to 1917.
A lot of Duncans.
Lots of Duncans, lots of Davisons, lots of Baines, Kenneths, all that kind of stuff there. But the castle was damaged by fire in 1845, and it was expanded and extended in 1891. The castle passed out of the Davidson ownership in 1917 when Duncan Davison, the 11th Baron of Tulloch, died and left the castle and the barony to his daughter and her son, Colonel Angus Vickers of the Vickers Aircraft Company, which I do know some of the Vickers aircraft. That was real popular in World War II. They made some jet bombers and things like that. I don't think they make planes anymore, but it was real famous for a long time.
So Mr. Vickers probably had some money.
Yes, probably so. I know there was I can't remember the Vickers. I want to say it's Vickers M.2 or something like that. But there were several airplanes, bombers back in the 50s and 60s that were made by the Vickers. I don't think they may still make aerial refueling planes and stuff like that, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so the Vickers, the Vickers had architect Sir Robert Lorimer. I'm not quite sure how to say his name. And that architect designed alterations in the early 1920s. After serving as the Vickers family home for several years and as a hospital for casualties of Dunkirk in 1940, so if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, if you've seen Dunkirk,
you know I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, I hadn't watched it either, actually, but which is funny because I hadn't seen Oppenheimer either. I hadn't seen any of his movies.
You haven't
recently.
seen the new Ghostbusters either.
Yes, I'm running behind. So, anyway, so Tulloch Castle was purchased by the local education authority in 1957. It was used as a hostel for students from the west coast of Scotland who were studying at Dingwall Academy until 1976. After this, the castle fell into disrepair until it was renovated and converted into a hotel by a local family, the Macaulays.
Yeah.
Okay, and that happened in 1996. It remains in use as a hotel and conference center today, and it played host to the official Clan Davidson gathering in October 2007. It is a Category B listed building. When her uncle, Colonel Angus Vickers, the 13th Baron of Tulloch, died in 1990, Lady Phyllis Vickers inherited the barony. Tulloch Castle has many interesting features. A tunnel runs from the basement of the castle under the town of Dingwall to the old site of Dingwall Castle. The tunnel's now collapsed, but it's possible to view this passageway through an air vent on the front lawn of the castle grounds. There is also a Davidson cemetery on the grounds for the family, for the castle and the family members and pets. So maybe like here a cemetery thing going on there.
Right.
So the graveyard is surrounded by a metal fence and has become overgrown, though some of the headstones are still visible. Originally, there were two wall gardens on any side. And we're not going to talk about the gardens this week, what makes it a garden.
That was several weeks ago. But yeah, let's not get into that.
So now they're overgrown. Parts of them have become woods and have houses built on them. The castle has two gatehouses and entrance paths. The former West Gatehouse was situated at the foot of what is now Maggie's Drive and can be seen on old postcards of Dingwall and also old maps from the late 19th and early 20th century. Though the West Gatehouse no longer exists, the East Gatehouse has survived and is currently a privately owned house. This gatehouse was built in 1876, and the path which connects it to the castle has become a public road. The road is still used as the main entrance to the castle today. So that just gives you a little bit about the history there of Tulloch Castle and about the families that live there. So the Tullocks, on to the Baines, on to the Davidsons, on to the Vickers. So just a real famous castle there, and lots of different things there. Now, one of the things I'm sure you'll probably post the pictures of it and stuff. This castle looks much more like a house that we would see today versus the castles that we're used to. Like you see those, I think it's Bavarian castles that are over there, like in Germany and Czechoslovakia. They know where they build up and build the spires. Right. We had one that we talked about not too long ago. I can't remember the name of it.
Pierce.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like that. It looks look more like what's the castle that's over there in Collinsville?
Collinsville.
Yeah, there's the Pier. I want to say Pierce Castle, but you just
I just told you Pierce Castle. That's in Decatur.
Okay, Decatur, Collinsville, whatever. That's over the same way. But it looks much more like that. It looks like a regular house, just with like castle features built on top of it versus all those grandiose Gothic features and stuff like that.
It does. This castle, it does have a turret, which is, usually a distinguishing characteristic of, to me, what makes a castle a castle. It does have that, but yes, it does have this look to it, like more of a giant mansion than an actual castle. But hey, I would still love to go tour it. I would love for it to be mine. I've always wanted to check out a castle, and not one that was made back in the 90s, like the one that we keep talking about, Pierce Castle in Mississippi. It's not a true castle. It was made in the 90s. But anyway, that was a lot of history there. Let's get into the haunting. So the story that revolves around the castle, it involves not one, but many ghosts that haunt the corridors all throughout the castle. Now, one of them is called the Green Lady. So we talk so often about gray ladies. Well, tonight we've got a green one. So her father, Duncan Davidson, he purchased the castle back in 1762. Adam covered that. However, one day he was accidentally found in a rather, let's call it a compromising position with his maid.
So he's banging the maid. He's basically...
Yeah. By, of all things, his shocked teenage daughter. So apparently, what was the girl's name? Do we even have her name? Elizabeth. She walks in on her father, as you so eloquently put it, banging the maid. So yes, Lady Elizabeth Davidson was her name, and she in what is now called Room 10. She became obviously shocked and panic stricken. She fled the room before she could reach her room. This is where it gets tragic. She fell and broke her neck and died instantly. So as terrible and tragic as that is, my God, what if you think about Duncan? You're there banging the maid. Your daughter walks in on it. That's enough to screw you up. And then your daughter runs out and falls and breaks her neck. There's no coming back
There's
from
no
that.
story saying whether or not he finished or he's
Yeah,
died,
well.
or anything like that. He may have been like, honey, this is for me. I hate that you walked in on me, but
He may have hollered at her like, get out of here.
Who knows?
Who
I
knows?
can see that.
But she did run. She fell. She broke her neck. That's terrible.
So I think today people call banging the maid pulling a Schwarzenegger. So he was pulling a Schwarzenegger and got found out. The other part of Schwarzenegger is you actually have to impregnate the maid.
Well, that's true. Well, he may have.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth, she's now known as the Green Lady. She haunts the castle. She's been seen by many guests. Her spirit's been sighted so frequently that the bar in the castle is named the Green Lady Bar. And there's a portrait of Elizabeth Davidson that hangs right there in the Great Hall. Now, there was a guest that stayed in what is known as Room 8 and once claimed that he could not breathe at night and felt like someone was choking him. The room felt ice cold to him, and he saw the ghosts of two girls sitting on his chest and suffocating him.
Sounds like a fun Friday night.
I guess. If you're R. Kelly, maybe. What the hell's wrong with you? Two girls. Guests have often complained about noises of the rattling of doors and other unexplained sounds coming in the night. So seriously, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't really breathe and you open your eyes and you see two girls sitting on your chest,
I'd freak out.
How would you react
I'd absolutely
to that?
freak. And the other thing is that it was ice cold. The room felt ice cold. So it doesn't say when it was happening and stuff. But like I said, it is a hotel, so you think it would have some type of HVAC system in there to either heat or cool the rooms or something. So you would think that it would have some things to try to prevent, from being cold, being hot, or whatever. So that always freaks me out more when there's like a temperature change. You're talking about watching the Ghostbusters, where the new one is the Frozen Empire,
yes.
and how that cold sensation is often thought to be that paranormal thing. So that only, like I said, I made the joke about the two girls sitting on his chest or whatever, but that ice cold stuff and suffocating, I would be absolutely freaked out if I woke up to something like that.
Well, that is a thing. There's a demon called a mare that they allegedly people will wake up and this demon sits on your chest. It causes you to have nightmares at night. I don't know. Maybe it was a mare. Another notable spirit that is seen throughout the castle is that of a maid. And as you guessed it,
same maid, huh?
People believe that this is the same maid that old Duncan was
pulling a Schwarzenegger on.
I was going to say putting the wood to.
Okay.
Now, she's often seen in the Great Hall in what's known as the Pink Room, and she frantically paces as if it's deeply troubled. I wonder why. Theories suggest that, as I said, this could be the same one, the same woman that Duncan was caught by his daughter with. Guests have repeatedly reported those ice-cold chills that we just talked about throughout the castle, balls of light, and loud crashing bangs accompanied by sudden and distinct temperature drops have also been witnessed in many castle areas. So what do you think those loud crashing bangs could be?
I don't know. You're laughing.
No,
at me.
what do you
when
think?
you said that, I just laughed because I think it's probably like stuff hitting against a wall, like a maid.
Like a headboard?
No, not a headboard. I was thinking more like somebody like putting up dishes or something like that a maid would do. Not necessarily that, but you did say that she lives in the pink room, just like Henry Davidson did. So
Yes, yeah, yes. That's.
if we're getting a little.
I hope there are no children listening
right.
to this episode.
But anyway, yeah, like I said, you have the sudden drops in temperature, so I think there's a chance that there is some type of relation to the other things there because. Besides them the choking and everything like that, I think, there's a lot of similarities in these hauntings.
Yeah, that's another common thing. Any haunting, you talk about cold and chills and, and usually it can't be explained. I mean, it'll even happen in the middle of the summertime. But anyway, moving on. So there was a medium that stayed there one time. Her name is Rachel Keene. And she stayed there one night in the year 2004. She reported some pretty wild things. She couldn't walk. This is what she says now. She could not walk 5 feet without some ghost interrupting her. So at one point, a little boy popped out in her room and just started playing with her hair. At one point, a 16th century guard, he kind of confronted her in the hall. At one point, she tried to sit by the fireplace in the lobby, and a man in a dirty, I don't know what that is. What is a tartan?
I think
like
it's
a tunic or what?
Yeah, I think it's like a leather thing, like they would put over them, like kind of to keep, like welders wear that thicker material. I think it's something like that.
Okay, well, a man in a dirty, whatever that is, Adam just said, he leaned over the stair banister and he spat. You'll not be sitting there long, lassie. I can't do a Scottish accent. So I didn't even try. No, I didn't try. Keene, she hated the dungeon where she got impressions of gleeful torture and men packed into cages like sardines. So here's a fun fact. You can capitalize on the delightful atmosphere by getting married down there now. Apparently people do that. I don't know. I wouldn't get married in the dungeon, but why would some people do that? Why would you want to get married in a dungeon?
People get married.
I mean, your whole marriage is going to be, torture in a lot of cases.
My mom used to tell me a story that on the day that her and my dad got married, my grandmother, her mother-in-law, came out and said, "Hey, it's raining today. That's how many tears will be shed in this marriage." That's what she told me.
Oh, my God.
So when she said that, my dad always said, well, that was an underestimate. He would say. So that was a joke that they always said, and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people just pick different things in different places and different times. Like, I don't think, I know a lot of people get married like in November and December and stuff. I wouldn't want to get married at that. I want to get married like in the spring. I got married in the summer.
You got married in June.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather get married.
The first time I got married was in June.
Yeah.
The second time was in the fall.
Yeah. But even the fall is not that bad. But but people get married in different places. I've seen people get married at parks. I've seen people get married at Disney World. I've seen people get married on the
racetracks.
Yeah, I mean, the beach is a popular one down here. We are close to the ocean. I mean, with this 2-3 hour drive pretty much from where we're from, and lots of people go down there for like a weekend and get married down there on the beach. That's a real common thing for people to do.
Well, if you want to get married in a dungeon, you can go to Tulloch Castle. But anyway,
one thing to add real fast, I looked up what a tartan was. It is like a nightgown that's plaid. Like what
Ebenezer Scrooge would be wearing.
That's right, but it's plaid. So
well, I mean, they are in Scotland.
Yes.
All right. So getting back to this medium, Rachel Keene, on the main floor, she witnessed men in powdered wigs thrusting a boy's arm into the fireplace, and she saw a group throwing someone out a window, and an angry old woman bustling around the breakfast room, knocking the tablecloth in such a way that Keene's fiance caught it on tape. Less sensitive guests, and when we say sensitive, we're talking about not mediums, they have reported cold spots, orbs, footsteps in the hall, banging, and tapping from outside the third-story windows, especially around room 8. Mm-hmm. And there was one TripAdvisor reviewer reported his cousin talking in his sleep with a voice that wasn't his. And a YouTube commenter describes how, despite his best efforts, his phone was repeatedly picked up off the middle of the nightstand and dropped on the floor. And it even happened to his wallet, apparently. Now, the Green Lady is among the few ghosts that have been captured on film, prompting numerous investigations into the castle. Several paranormal teams have investigated the castle and found some pretty fascinating results. They found blinking of lights, orbs, those icy cold patches we keep talking about. They've heard constant noises, clicks, bangs, thuds recorded on film without any way to explain it. There are actually a couple of pictures that contain some really compelling photographic evidence. One of those pictures seems to catch the hand of the Green Lady clutching the railing as she descends some stairs. And now guests at Tulloch Castle are provided with the opportunity to attend a Tulloch Castle ghost tour conducted by a man named David. The ghost tour includes a visit to the 250-year-old Great Hall, where a painting portrays one of the wives and children of Duncan Davidson, the fourth Laird of Tulloch. David, he shares the show with Elizabeth, daughter of Duncan. The Green Lady's eyes, especially in this painting, they apparently have the uncanny knack of appearing to be following you around the Great Hall. And many guests have felt goosebumps when they've looked up and seen her looking their way. She's reportedly appeared in front of guests on many occasions, and the former night manager once revealed that he felt a presence behind him while on duty. And the tour includes the former dungeon, which again we talked about is now it's a private dining room where you can get married if you would like. So that's pretty much all I have about the haunting of Tulloch Castle. Now, I do have that image here of the hand on the railing. Did you see that?
I did. And it does look like a hand. It looks like you can kind of see. They call her the Green Lady, but it's kind of transparent, so you really can't see colors. Like it's got the, I don't know what it's called, the steps on the stairs. They have like carpet over them, and it's like not just regular carpet. It's like designed.
It's got a pattern.
Okay. So they have that going up, but it clearly looks like it's her left hand grabbing it as she's going down the rail. I mean, it looks very clear to me.
Yeah, you can see
obvious.
fingers. You can see a sleeve and an arm.
Yeah. But kind of looks like, when I look to see a leg, that kind of looks like the pattern there to me. So I kind of put that up. Then you had another picture there of a window in the castle. And, I think the windows in this castle are one of the reasons I said it looked more like a regular house. Because
I thought the same thing.
So, I'm used to castles, the windows kind of like going into the castle. These windows are pretty much flush with the outside wall. So that's why it looks more like a regular house, I think, to myself. But it shows her in the window there, and it says, "Is this the Green Lady?" on the picture. And I can kind of see, I can see definitely a figure of a person there and everything like that. But I'm always not sure whether or not that is someone that is showing the, like you're looking for that and you're seeing something there that you're not supposed to see. Like if I didn't have a circle around it, if I didn't know what I was talking about, would I think that's a ghost?
Yeah, me personally, that second picture to me, I don't think is really anything. I think that's someone, trying to make you see something that's not really there.
Yeah.
The first picture now with the hand on the railing or the banister, that's a little different. That to me looks more realistic, and I'll put it on Instagram for people to see it.
There was also another picture that you didn't talk about, which was a family portrait there. And we had talked about they had buried dogs and pets there and everything like that. And there's a picture of a family, a wife and 3 children and a dog.
Well, the reason this picture's on here is the Green Lady, Elizabeth, is actually that girl on the left in the white dress. That's the picture they say that she follows.
Yeah, that she
around.
looks. Yeah. So, but that's a real interesting picture. I just, one of the things I thought about, I was scrolling through streaming apps the other day, one of the days that I didn't have to do anything during Thanksgiving break, I was trying to look for something to watch, and I saw there was a new Pet Cemetery out there, and that movie always freaked me out as a child. I hadn't watched the new one. I think it's called Pet Cemetery Bloodlines or something like that, but I haven't watched.
Is that a movie or a show?
A show, I think, on Paramount.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm interested in it because I like the original Pet Cemetery.
But that Pet Cemetery always freaked me out, So
yeah, me too.
That and Cujo and animal things, animal ghosts really do freak me out. Going back talking about the monkey, different things like that. I'm not gonna speak on what he did there.
Let's leave that one alone.
Those different types of things. I think when you start getting different things like that, like that whole area could be haunted. We talked about just specifically to the castle here, but especially these older type cities like Dingwall, where they're at, there are some things there that kind of stick out and might kind of make you think, hey, is this place haunted, and different things like that. So I wonder if, there's anything that people have seen in that area about the dogs or anything like that, or the other pets, because they did talk about the pets specifically. But this is a very interesting haunting to me from the standpoint of the history of the castle. One of the things, as Americans, we have always been kind of fascinated with British royalty. They talked about, when I was talking about the history, about the different barons, all the way to, I don't know what they call her. I don't know if they call ladies Phyllis Vickers. I don't know if she's still alive. I don't know if she is the Baroness of Tulloch. In the barony, they call that area the barony of it. So I don't know if that still follows her now, since she's a lady. I don't know if she can be called the Baron or the Baroness. I'm not sure, but that history, that type of stuff is really, really intriguing to a lot of people in American history. Like, when, and I always get them confused, which one just got married to Meghan Markle?
That was Harry a few years ago.
Okay, Harry. Okay, so William was the first one that got married.
Yes.
When William got married to Kate Middleton, right?
Correct.
So when he got married to her, that was huge. I remember so was Harry's wedding and stuff. I know a lot of people have kind of been like, since Harry's been like, I don't want to be in the spotlight, but give me all this money to make sure. I know that South Park made fun of them not too long ago.
Well, a lot of people have been making fun of them. They're not in the royal family. They've kind of
and they've
pretty
fallen
much
out with them.
disowned them.
Yeah. So, but I know people like that history and like those different things. Since we don't have that in America, we have different types of royalty and things like that, but it's not the same thing. It's not, hey, your child gets to be the next baron of the area and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting place. It's got a lot of different history there to it. It's got, of course, the Green Lady. It's got, you said, possibly a mayor there with the two women there that were suffocating the man. And, I think there's lots
The maid.
The maid, that's right. And then, they also had all the other ones they talked about there, about possibly the young child, the soldier, everybody like that. So just a lot of different history there, lots of different ghosts. And that's what you expect out of something that's been around for almost 1,000 years now.
Of course.
So I think that kind of goes into that different part of that history there. But we always talk about a rating scale. We have a rating scale where we go through and rate these, and we rate them on scales from 1 to 5. 5 is that we fully believe the place is haunted. We believe that if you go there, you're very likely to have some experience. There's some certain things there that happen to you that makes you believe that could possibly be a haunting, or seeing an apparition or whatever. 4 is that we have some reasonable doubt when it comes to it. That means we believe for the most part that those things are happening, but there are some things that kind of do there. 3 is not enough good information to make a clear decision. We are not sure. There's lots of things pointing to it being haunted, but there's some things that kind of say, maybe it isn't. Maybe there's some things, different stories. No, photographic proof is one thing. Is one thing we've always talked about. 2 is that there's enough reasonable doubt. We have enough reasonable doubt that we don't believe that it's haunted. We believe stuff is probably made up. There may be some things that are haunted or supernatural there, but for the most part, those things are not true. And then 1 is we don't believe at all. That it's not haunted at all. So after giving the rating scale there, I usually go first, and I give what I think about the place. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give this one a 3. I think there's lots of things that point to it being haunted. But we have the story of the green lady falling and breaking her neck, and that is tragic, and especially I don't know how family relations were at that time, and there's some people out there that expect their parents to be infidelity or anything like that, but I would be shocked, like, if my parents were ever involved in that. So, and I think that's common. Some people are not that common. Some people, I've seen some kids say, well, my mom or dad's a whore, so,
Well, it's one thing to know that your parents act that way, and it's a completely different thing to walk in
that's
on
true.
the act.
That's right. So anyway, like I said, I think that adds to the tragedy stuff. There was probably lots of prisoners and stuff there, so different things in terms of the hospital and stuff. So I think there's been some issues there and some of that sadness. But like I said, besides that one picture, that picture does lead some credence to it. But I could even see where that's possibly been photoshopped or something like that. But you could say that with every picture. So it really comes down to how much do you believe the story. And I believe the stories, but I also think, besides the guy that was being set on, there's not been much tragedy there in terms of ghosts or people freaking out about it and stuff like that. Or, the stories there are more like this is what we see, like talking about like, it would freak me out if there was a picture in this room right now and the eyes were following me wherever I go. It absolutely would freak me out. But sometimes that stuff is your perception, how you see it. And are you wanting to see that, and that's the reason you're seeing it, or is it because it's actually happening?
Well, sometimes that stuff can be explained away as an optical illusion. And, there's a very historic cemetery in Natchez, Mississippi, not far from us. I was there not long ago, and there's supposedly a statue of an angel out there that follows you around.
That's right.
Like it turns and follows you. But it's an optical illusion. It doesn't actually move. But anyway, look, you said there wasn't a lot of tragedy here. To me, that doesn't matter. I mean, there was tragedy, and a young girl broke her neck and died there. And who knows? Maybe there were other things that happened. Remember, this place had a dungeon,
right? And
there could have been a lot of people that were tortured and killed in that dungeon. We probably don't know all of the history that occurred here.
Correct.
There is also you mentioned that this over the course of this place's history that there was even a connection to Vikings there. I mean, who knows what all has happened on these grounds and in the existing structure. So. The picture that you talked about with the hand on the banister, yeah, it could be photoshopped, I suppose, but I'm going to go out on a limb and believe that it's genuine. And if I see something like that, it's I can't go as low as a 3. I'm going to go with a 4 on this one, a little higher than you. I think that I'm not 100% on board with it being haunted, but I'm close. I'm certainly leaning that direction. So you average our scores together, 4 and a 3. That's a 3.5, which means we do think that this place is indeed truly haunted. Anything above a 3 qualifies, at least to us, as a place that is truly haunted. So it barely makes the cut, but it does make it. So if you have the opportunity to visit Tulloch Castle, and you want to go somewhere where you could potentially see a ghost, we think this is a place to go. So I guess that's pretty much it for Tulloch Castle. And what you have any closing thoughts here?
No, just interesting. Like I said, we always talk about the islands over there, Ireland, Scotland, the great England. Those areas, because there is so much history there, I think a lot of that stuff, like I said, the castle's been around almost 1,000 years, and it's been lots of different things there. I talk about tragedy. One of the worst things I've ever heard in torture is the blood wings. Have you ever heard of what the blood wings are?
Is that the
Vikings?
Thing with the ribs?
They pull the lungs out through your back.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible.
So, I mean, like Vikings, if they did that there, that could be a lot of the stuff there in terms of them being, haunted and stuff like that. So there's lots of different things that could have gone on there. I just didn't see it in there. And, everything seems to be from the latter half of that. It doesn't seem to be a lot of Viking ghosts or whatever. So,
But like I said, 1,000 years, which is pretty close to what we're talking about, the history of this place. There's a hell of a lot of stuff that can happen in 1,000 years, and probably a lot of things that could explain the paranormal activity that goes on at Tulloch Castle.
It's almost back when the story of Willow would have been going on.
That's true. I mean, hell, maybe Willow was based on some shit that happened there.
Yeah, main character Warwick Davis there.
Yeah. God bless Warwick Davis. All right, so that's enough on Tulloch Castle. Look, we appreciate everyone listening. We would encourage you to follow us on Instagram, where you can see pictures of some of these places we talk about, some of these ghostly photographs and videos and things like that we talk about. And you can find us on Instagram at The Ghostcasters. And you can always shoot us an email at theghostcasters@gmail.com. If you've got maybe you visited Tulloch Castle and you can tell us your own experience there, or maybe you've got a suggestion for a future episode. We have had listeners do that before as well. We would encourage you, if you like the show, to rate and review it. Those things do help. If you didn't like the show, please don't.
Keep it to yourself.
All right, so we appreciate it. I guess we'll leave it here, and we'll see everybody next time for an all-new haunting on Ghostcasters Podcast.
Thank you.